I am Jamie Rose, and this is the Photo Breakdown.
Photo Breakdown is a podcast where I talk with a photographer sharing the story of a specific photograph, technique, or business win. I'm your host, Scott Weidenkivowitz, and this is the Photo Breakdown. Let's break it down. Hello, my name is Scott Weidenkivowitz, your host of Photo Breakdown, and today I am sitting down with Jamie Rose to talk about a photo that actually isn't Jamie's photo. So this is gonna be a fun one. I'm really excited to talk about this one, and it's gonna be a first for the podcast as well, which is gonna be really interesting. So, hi Jamie,
Hi.
welcome to the Photo Breakdown.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So last time we talked, we actually spoke or talked, I should say, face to face. We actually talked for a different podcast I was hosting called the WordPress Photography Podcast, which I'm no longer the host of, but this is my new show, and I am happy to have you here. So we're going to start with two questions to kick things off, to let the listeners get to know you a little bit. And the first question is, what are you not very good at?
Oh, so many things. In like the photo world, I
It
would
can be
say,
wherever you want to go with this.
I'm not very good at adapting to new social media.
Oh,
I get so frustrated with every 5 minutes there being like a new thing. So it takes me a little while to adapt, but I'm trying really hard to get over that. And I did this year because I embraced Clubhouse and I jumped in early, and I've really enjoyed it. And it taught me that I shouldn't be such a like fuddy-duddy about about new ways of communicating, given the fact that I'm a communications professional.
right. Well, so has Clubhouse been a fun thing for you to do, or has it been something that actually has been a business generating activity now?
Both. But I
Both.
have to say, it has been life changing. And I wouldn't have
Interesting.
expected that, because we started a club called Documentary Storytellers with our nonprofit Wildfire Media. And every Friday for 36 weeks now, we have been hosting this show called What's Inspiring You This Week. And I still can't get over the fact it's been 36 weeks so far straight. And
Yeah.
every single week, like a core group of people are always on. And it's become this just really bright spot in my week. It's 8 a.m. on Pacific time. So I get to start my Friday with this really like inspirational group of people, photographers, communicators, digital experts. Like, it's so great. And we just get to talk about what's inspiring you this week. And then I met through that people at the Curious Society, which is a new nonprofit dedicated to photojournalism. And so we've been able to partner up on different discussions, and they have a Tuesday night group where it's just a bunch of photographers sitting around talking about like whatever is the news of the day. And I've met so many people that I never would have met before, like from Brazil and India and the Philippines. And I mean, it's just so entirely different from any other social networking tool that I've ever used. And I mean, it's great because we've expanded our audience for Momenta workshops and Wildfire Media, and it's just been really great. So I have to say, I was so pleasantly surprised by how it is, and it's changing quite a bit in the last couple of months. Definitely, I think there's a place for it in the world. I don't think it's going to like take the place of Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, but it's a really nice community building tool. So I've been pleased.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's fantastic that you've been able to take advantage of something that's still fairly new to the social media world, and if for nothing else, just build great connections with people all around the world. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, this episode is sponsored by my lead generation course for photographers called More Leads, More Clients. Yes, if you would like to increase the leads you're generating on your photography site, you can use the strategies I teach in my course. Access it at scottwyden.com/leads. So my next question to you: you're someone who has photographed a variety of different things over the years, variety of different types of people over the years as well. And I'm wondering if you could only photograph one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I would go back to doing humanitarian healthcare coverage again. It was the
Nice.
most inspiring, and covering, humanitarian healthcare workers from a documentary perspective was what I consider to be like the greatest honor, especially when the clients and the doctors would allow me into their lives and I could photograph people, at some of their darkest days and then some of their most jubilant. And that was really, it was truly an honor of my life. And if I could only, if I had to go back to photographing on the daily, and I could only do one thing, it would definitely be that.
For that genre of what you could photograph for the past 2 years would probably make for something extremely interesting. Seeing seeing the ups and downs from like the ERs and the ICUs, and as far as you know even how the doctors are looking during these times, how they go from minimal PPE to full PPE back to a little bit less, and then like seeing, you could almost like being able to track the trend lines of hospitals throughout this, in photographs. That would probably have been really interesting.
I think so, and not to diminish the massive global effect of this pandemic and disease. I think one of the things that it's done from my perspective, because I've been covering, I covered humanitarian work for like almost 20 years. So the, and from a healthcare perspective, especially, I did a lot of, medical focused coverage. I think the thing that it really taught the rest of the world who's outside of that industry and that
Hmm.
sort of perspective is this is what doctors do all the time.
Hmm.
It just happens to be more intense. But when you're working in a field hospital in the middle of a civil war, or at a refugee camp with a infectious disease outbreak like cholera or something like that, I mean, this is normal for so many parts of the world that we aren't exposed to, living in a comfortable Western
Right.
society, that I think, we finally opened up the window to say, like, this is an intense job that, you're holding people's lives in their hands, but you're also the first person they see at a point of trauma. You could be the last person they see before they die. Like, these people are so vital to our world and they're so overlooked that, in a way, this has been a benefit, if you can say that, to understanding what those people have to go through. So I think it's so, I hope that is one of the changes that comes out of this, for the perspective of how vital these primary and daily care medical workers are to the health and well-being and just general flow of our society.
Hmm. Right, right, right. Yeah.
They're always essential workers.
Yeah. Yep. That's for sure. So we're going to talk about what's going on in the photo that we're going to be looking at today in a second. And I don't I so I didn't read up fully on this photo yet. So when I hear from you, it's gonna be the first time I hear about this. So I'm gonna be really interested in hearing the story behind this. And so with that, let's break down this photo. We are looking at a photo that my guess is that it was natural light, and it's sort of got this dark, very natural feel to it. And but it's a family. You can tell it's a family of some sort. And I can't tell where it was photographed. I mean, I can look at the description, but I'm not. I can tell that there's a lot of love on in this photo. So, but this is not your photo. This is
No.
a student of yours. This is a student of yours photo. So, we're going to be looking at this or talking about this from your perspective as the photo editor and the mentor of the photographer.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
So, what is going on here?
Okay. So first of all, I'm really honored that you would have me on the show. And I'm even more excited that you would allow me to deconstruct a photo from the editor's perspective, because I think in so many cases, we all fall in love with our own individual photos, but editors fall in love with individual photos as well. And with my work with Memento Workshops, Memento's been in operation for 13, almost 14 years in February. And we have, focused our workshop programs are dedicated to documentary storytelling, either through humanitarian storytelling with nonprofits, or, we do travel documentary as well. And one of the greatest parts of my job is that I get to work with so many different photographers on every workshop. They're small workshops. We have, maximum of 15 people that come on them. And this particular photo came from one of our project series, which is documenting nonprofits. And this photographer's name is Sarah Jane Holden. She is a photographer based in Washington, D.C., and she focuses her work now predominantly on women and maternal health, women's health and maternal health. And she was working with this organization called MAM, which is a nonprofit that works with midwives in Puerto Rico. And Sarah is one of those amazing photographers that came from a completely different background. And I know that she would not be upset if I say this. She brings that baggage of imposter syndrome with her, not because she doesn't feel like she's worthy, but because there's so many people in our industry that, will say like, oh, well, you didn't go to this school, or you didn't have this
Yeah.
training, or so when she first came on the workshop, she would say, well, I've just started out being a photographer. I had this other career, and she would always, try to blow off the career. But one of the things I thought was so important was she was a trained speech pathologist. She's multiple degrees in this. She worked with children her whole life, and then she's turned her camera towards the experience of maternal health and women's health, and so she brings this excellent perspective that photographers really need to understanding their subjects, because she is a mother, and she also worked with children for so much that she has this natural ease around her subjects. But this particular photo, and the reason why I chose it, is there's so many things that I love about it. Yes, it is natural light. One of the things that I think a lot of photographers get very frustrated with is, having to work, especially when you're doing humanitarian work. A lot of organizations are pretty much only open 9 to 5. So we don't get that like gorgeous golden hour.
Mm. Yep, yep.
They operate indoors under terrible fluorescent lighting, or, bad light, as you say. And then there's a lot of, there can be a lot of process and protocols and things like that that go into this work. So it can be really frustrating. But at the same time, when your subjects are so enthusiastic about you being there and are really excited to work with you, you get these like beautiful, happy moments that can come from this type of work. And this photo is just one of them. We had during our workshops every night, people go out during the day, they're documenting their nonprofits, and then they come back and you have a 1 hour editing session with your coach. And I was editing Sarah this day. And so, we pull up her whole take in Photo Mechanic. We look at everything, soup to nuts, even the bad stuff. And typically what I do as an editor is I'll pull up the whole contact sheet, and then I'll just like really quickly scroll through in a slideshow just to see like, what did you do today? Let me get a feel for it. And when I was looking at this take, this photo popped up, and usually I'm scrolling through like pretty fast, like, okay, cool, good, just getting a feel for it. And this one popped up, and I still remember pausing and going, whoa, this first of all, this photo came out of the camera almost exactly like this. There's very little post-production on this image at all. But I mean, I instantly thought, this is a Botticelli. I mean, this is the perfect Fibonacci spiral in a photo, first of all.
Mhm.
And second of all, I was like, this moment is just stunning. The light is beautiful.
Mhm.
It is Madonna and Child with Joseph, which I think is really important because we tend to focus. We see a lot of, especially in maternal health, a lot of mother and child only, but this one had the whole family in, and it's a perfect portrait. And the thing that I just loved about it was when I said, oh, this is so amazing, Sarah's instant reaction was, what? No, it's not that great. And I was like, oh, what? She's like, no, it's no. I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. And I said, Sarah, first of all, I'm the coach. Second of all, I you know, by this point, I feel like I know really good photography at this point. This is really good. You need to believe in yourself to believe that this is, you need to believe me. Just trust me, even if you don't believe it right now. And I love the image for the simplicity. I love the light. I love the color. I mean, we have like such a gorgeous color palette, and it's completely unstaged. It's completely unposed. She
Yeah.
was actually trying to get a different image and the baby just would not cooperate, but that's the
Yep.
perfection of it. And I think that's one of the joys of being an editor. You know, we say on our workshops, like, we basically, if you're, you know, if you want to come and instruct for us, like, people will say, like, I want to be an instructor and I want to go to like India or whatever. And I'm like, you must understand that the majority of your time is spent in a hotel meeting room. Like, we don't get to go out and shoot a lot, but the photographers bring the world to us.
Mhm.
And it's such a special experience to be able to see a photographer like Sarah just grow and flourish in her photography and get more comfortable so that she can make such lovely images like this.
Yeah, the photo definitely basically defines what a documentary style photo is, right? So 100% natural from nobody looking at the camera. They're trying to engage with their daughter to get the daughter to cooperate, which obviously is never going to happen. It does
No.
that's not what happens. With combined with natural light or whatever light was available, right? It's if
Mhm.
she brought lights into the scene, it's going to change the entire dynamic of the scene. And I might even argue that the most beautiful light is the available light without you making a mess of it, right? Or like trying to control it, which of course could have its own problems. Like you said, combine a window with with fluorescent lighting, and you just got a whole new can of worms you got to deal with. But as you said, the colors from um, the mother shirt, the daughter shirt, the daughter's shorts, and even their skin tones are just so good.
Yeah.
It really is a beautiful photo, and I'm actually it's great to hear. It makes me feel good to hear that not much editing was done to it because I'm personally a fan of less is more in many cases, especially when it comes to this style of photography. Less is definitely more. So
Yeah, we, you know, when we're teaching documentary workshops and when it comes to post-production, you know, our philosophy is we follow the ethical journalistic standards of the documentary work because people need to be able to trust the nonprofits that use this work. And, you know, the idea is to train photographers how to work with nonprofit organizations as they go forward. And it is an entirely different ball of wax. You know, some people say, like, I don't understand why you have to take a class on how to shoot for nonprofits. And, you know, my response is like, trust me, it is like no other client you've ever had before because you're playing, you know, part editorial photojournalism, and also you have to look at it from a PR donor perspective. So you have to weigh both of those options of how you're going to approach the scene. And we teach everyone, you know, there has to be hope and there has to be need. If we have all pictures of need and it looks like it's, you know, the most depressing, horrible situation you've ever seen, donors are going to look at that and say, what? Like, why are we donating? You guys obviously aren't making any kind of a difference. But if you don't show that hope of like, hey, look at what happens, like this photo, for example, when we have a maternal health organization that is teaching family healthcare, not just mother and child, but involving the fathers, involving the parents, involving the mothers in their own birth plans. Like these will create family dynamics that create moments like this. And that's why these pictures are so important. So when it
Yeah.
comes to the post, the idea of, doing hyper manipulation and filters and adding backgrounds and everything like that, like no one's going to trust a nonprofit. They're just going to be like, oh, that's stock photography, we have no idea what it really looks like in that facility. And
Right.
in this way, it's connecting people to that nonprofit and taking photographers like Sarah and training them on how to get the access that you need to programs like this, and how to make people in a medical situation comfortable. I mean, she's photographing women in, exams, like pelvic exams and, places that are, and live births where babies are
Yeah.
literally coming out of people. So like, how do you make people feel comfortable with a camera right up in there?
Right.
And then how do you become that fly on the wall, like what we see in this image, which I think is a testament to the photographer itself.
I'm looking at Sarah's website right now, and I'm looking at her With Woman series.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's this whole series. Yeah.
Right. So I think there's like maybe 8 photos from that series in her portfolio on her website from this. So I do recommend everybody who's listening, after you check out the photo we're talking about, click over to Sarah's website and also check out this series as well, and her other photos. Her photos are amazing. I love that she's keeping the high ISO noise in there, because obviously she's still going with whatever light's available. And in some of these photos, you can even see the curtains are closed, so there's not much light option.
No.
So I love that the high ISO noise is still in there. It really gives you that sense of, look, I literally am, like you said, a fly on the wall, staying out of your way, just documenting what's going on right now in your life type of stories going on. And she's got really cool framing. There's a photo of, I'm assuming it's like 2 nurses going to 2 separate rooms, and there's a scale in the middle. It's just perfect framing. So you mentioned that she has imposter syndrome.
No, I would say had. When she first came to a Momenta workshop, she was like, oh, well, I'm just not a professional yet. And we're like, you are totally a professional. You got this, girl. You just need to stretch those creative legs. And I would hope that isn't there. I mean, come on, we all struggle with imposter syndrome.
Of course.
I think that's pretty accurate, but I don't, I would hope that she doesn't have that anymore. And one of the things that I say in the, in the behind the frame analysis that we did of this particular picture is, photo editors, when they believe in you, like, listen to them. I think it's so important that, when we do struggle with that imposter syndrome, and we do struggle with being ultra critical of our own work, when someone else says, like, I love this picture, take a tip from Mama Rose, which was, when somebody gives you a compliment, say thank you and believe it. And I think that's really important, is believe it when the editors say, like, this is awesome, well done, and embrace it and enjoy it. Because as we have on our very last slide of orientation, photography is supposed to be fun. So embrace it when you really hit all of those targets, like this image, I think is the big lesson.
Well said. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for breaking down this photo with me. I got another question for you.
Yeah.
What should I have asked?
Well, I would say, how do people sign up for a Momenta workshop? Probably.
Nice. Well, so that's kind of going into my next question, which is, where can listeners connect with you online? So where can our listeners...
workshops? I would say momentaworkshops.com. If you go to the workshop section, you'll see all of the different programs that we have. Our 2022 lineup is coming out slowly, but we are going back to in-person next year. We're very excited. We've got some really incredible programs coming up. Our New Orleans workshop is perhaps my favorite, but Puerto Rico is a very close second. I absolutely love the workshop where this photo came from. And please check us out on Instagram as well, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those good places. And awesome. You can find us at Momenta Workshops in almost everywhere.
Perfect. Thank you for listening to Photo Breakdown. For the show notes and to see the photos shared today, visit photobreakdown.com.